Everything was balanced with the Prophet. He had beautiful hair. He had very wavy black hair. It wasn't curly, it wasn't straight, because everything about him is balanced. So even his hair was balanced. It wasn't straight and it wasn't curly. The extremes. Those are two extremes of hair. You have curly hair, you have straight hair. His was right in the middle of those two extremes. He had wavy hair, parted in the middle. It went sometimes to the bottom of the earlobe, sometimes to his shoulders. He had a very, very beautiful complexion. They said it was like the moon. He was not pasty white. No, he had a reddish tint to his complexion. He had beautiful eyes. He had very, very white. His whites, what they call, ophthalmologists in America call happy eyes. Very white. He had very, very white. The whites of his eyes were very white, and then he had very striking dark eyes.
People go through, we have to remember the Rasul hasn't got our back. You have to remember that, yeah. No matter how difficult life may be, we're in an age that the Rasul is an age of treachery. The Prophet we forecasted and he prophesied the age is an age where the person cannot even trust their best friend. But you can trust Muhammad. You can trust Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. When everybody falls silent, he is articulate. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
subhanahu wa ta'ala to rely upon, then we'll be prepared for this month. And when we add to that as well, etiquettes that we're supposed to have in relation to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some of them that were expressed in that first poem that we recited by the great Shaykh Muhammad ibn Habib, who is from the great scholars of Morocco and is buried in Meknes, and who passed away about 50 years ago. He teaches us in this blessed poem how it is that we should be before the Prophet ﷺ, because this is the poem that he wrote and he was inspired with when coming into the presence of the Rasul ﷺ. It's because this is the poem that he wrote and he was inspired with when coming into the presence of the Rasul ﷺ. And so when he says, نَحْنُ فِي رَوْضَةِ الرَّسُولِ, that we are in the Rhodua, we are that present, hudur, in the garden of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what was the very first thing that he said after that? طَالِبِينَ الرِّضَى, that we are seeking his rida, his contentment. Allahu wa rasuluhu ahaqqu an yurduhu in kanu mu'mineen. Allah and his messenger that are more fitting for you to please if indeed that you are believers. And here it's yurduhu, the ittihad al-rida, that if the noble Prophet ﷺ is content with you, it is a sign that Allah is content with you, content with that which he is content with, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we seek the rida of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa husna qabuli, and that we be accepted in his presence in the very best of ways. Not just accepted, husna qabul, that we have a beautiful acceptance. Not only that we are accepted, that we moved up in the ranks of those that are close to the Prophet ﷺ, that we spend our lives trying to emulate him, trying to understand his sunnah, and to put it into practice during our time. And one of the greatest ways that we can do that is by figuring out how our Prophet fasted in the month of Ramadan, up in the ranks of those that are close to the Prophet ﷺ, that we spend our lives trying to emulate him, trying to understand his sunnah, and to put it into practice during our time. And one of the greatest ways that we can do that is by figuring out how our Prophet fasted in the month of Ramadan, what he did during the blessed month of Ramadan. But he goes on to say, Jitna ya khayra man ilayhi al-maladu, that we have come to you, O best of those that are found refuge in, with what? Inkisar, brokenness, and dhillah, which is humility, and dhuhul. And dhuhul is a type of bewilderment that comes from your amazement of the presence of the Prophet. So that if Allah would bless us to see his noble face, and how radiant that noble face is, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will be in a state of dhuhul. We will be in a state of bewilderment because of the luminescence of his blessed skin, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which in reality was more otherworldly than worldly. Because of the way that light shone from him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we would be in a state of bewilderment. But this is how we come to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then fas'alillaha fina kulla inaya, is that ask Allah to take care of us in all of our affairs, kulla inaya. And if Allah takes care of you in all of your affairs, everything that it is that you do will work out. Everything will be facilitated for you. And then why? لِنَنَالِ الْمُنَى فِي وَقْتِ الْحُلُولِ, so that we can attain what it is that we desire, that at the moment we transfer from this world.